Taylor gang, welcome back to the channel. How are you guys? Y'all, I'm getting ready to actually go hang with my cousins, and I was like, let me talk to my peeps. So hello, this is gonna be a little get ready with me and story time. Lord Jesus, story time, y'all. My worst date ever. My worst date ever. So this is how we're gonna do this. I'm just gonna start doing my makeup and I'm gonna talk to y'all and tell y'all about it. Of course, it's a Tinder, Hinge story. I can't remember which one I met him off of, but one of them two apps, okay? So let's get into it. So y'all, I'm on Tinder, Hinge, whatever, like the rest of us, or was, because I'm not even on that app anymore because I just couldn't take it. But anyway, so I'm on Tinder or Hinge, you know, you swipe, meet somebody. Now, I had met this guy a while back. So I'm like, okay. You know, we matched. He liked me. And so I was like, oh, okay, he's older. But his bio was like he has his own businesses. Like very stable, right? So that's my dog trying to get in, by the way. But so he was like very stable, had his own businesses, like did his own thing. So I'm like, okay, let's see what he's about. Now, his pictures, they were decent. They were decent. He wasn't like a super fine guy. I didn't go crazy over him or anything like that. But I was like, you know, whatever, like we just gonna see, yada yada yada. So he gets my number, we chat on there for a little bit, he gets my number, you know, he's like, what's your schedule, want to take you out, and honestly, low-key, I really didn't even want to go out with this guy. I don't even know why I matched with him or why I decided to just hit like or swipe right or whatever. But I did it. So I was like putting him off. And I finally gave him a chance. It had like, I think a month passed. Because, yeah, I think a month passed. Because I was really like blowing this guy off, y'all. So we were still texting. He's just like, how's your day? You know, what did you do today? Just a little small talk. Literally small talk with everything. So I'm like, okay, we're talking. I'm like, okay, let me see what this guy's about. Let me stop beating around the bush. I should have left him where he was at, to be honest, but I didn't. So he's like, let's go on a date, you know, give me your availability. I gave him my availability, thinking he wasn't going to be available, y'all. He was available. So I'm like, okay. So he's like, all right, let's shoot for this day, this time, and you pick the place. Because we wanted to go eat. He was like, but you pick the place. So I picked my favorite seafood restaurant, or one of my favorites. It's not high class, like it's not super fancy. It's one of those seafood places where you get the seafood in the bag, like that. So I was like, that'd be a fun place for us to go. It's not quiet. We can talk, we can laugh, and I know how to hold a conversation. So even if the date goes left, like I know how to just hold a conversation until I can get up out of there. So we set the date, and that day I was late. I was at home doing my makeup, and I was just running like 10-15 minutes late. I was texting him updates the whole time, so he didn't think I was blowing him off. So he was like, he said like okay, or he just kept saying like hurry up. And I'm like, I know this Negro is not rushing me. That's the first thing. I'm like, I know you're not rushing me. So I eventually like finish up, whatever, get to the place. I park, all that. Y'all, it was street parking. I was rushing so much I didn't even pay for the street parking. So yes, I got a ticket at the end of the night. We'll get to that. But I did not pay for street parking because this dude was rushing me, and it just threw me off my game. And honestly, I was like 10-15 minutes late. Wasn't even an hour or anything. I'm texting him the whole time like, almost done with my makeup, like I'm coming, this and the third. And I live about 10 minutes away from the place, so not even far. So I'm like, I'm coming. He's like, okay. I'm like, what are you when I get there? Like, where you at? He's like, I'm inside, I'm waiting. He was like, it's a 2-hour wait, this and the third. I'm still at home doing my makeup during this time. So I'm like, okay, do you want to pick something else? Since it's a 2-hour wait. Oh wait, we didn't have we didn't have reservations. This place doesn't take reservations. I don't know if I said we had reservations or not, but we didn't. This place doesn't take reservations actually. So he was like, I'm here, it's a 2-hour wait, this and the third. I'm like, okay, do you want to go somewhere else? Like, because I was sensing the attitude through the text messages and I wasn't feeling it at all. But I had put on a face full of makeup. I was looking real cute. My hair was done. I already had my outfit on and everything. So I'm like, I'm gonna go on this date. I'm like, and he been sweating me. I'm gonna go on this date and I'm gonna get my free meal. Nah. So so I get to the restaurant, and after I park and all that, I go inside. I'm like texting him at the door, y'all. I'm like, are you here? Like, where you at? Like, I'm in the door. Now mind you, we met off Tinder, Hinge, one of the two, so I know what he looks like, but I don't know what he looks like. If y'all like catch my drift, like, I know what he looks like, but I don't. So at this point, now he ain't texting me back as fast. I'm like, really? Like, I'm here. So I'm like, hello, like, I'm at the door, like, are you here? He's like, yeah, like, in the back. Yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm here, like, in the back, or like off to the side, whatever he said. And instead of coming to the door to get me, he like, yeah, I'm over here, like, waiting or whatever. So I walk over there, and immediately I sense the attitude. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, this how we doing this? I wanted to leave right then and there, and I should have left right then and there, but I stayed. So I saw him, and you know those people that look like they picture but don't look like they picture? Like, his pictures, like I said, he was decent. He's not ugly, but he also really, like, not my type. But when I saw him, he looked like my father, my biological father. Now, quick little backstory on that. Me and my biological father have no communication. Like, we don't talk, we don't have a relationship, nothing. He didn't raise me, he wasn't in my life, anything. I know who he is, so this wasn't my daddy, y'all. I know who my father is, and I have met him like recently and like a couple years ago, but we don't have a relationship like whatsoever. So it was a little weird, because I'm like, wow, you look exactly like my dad. Like, this is kind of freaky. So I'm on this date, y'all. Mind you, we're still waiting for our table. It was a little wait. So I'm trying to make small talk while we wait. This man had a real life attitude with me because I was like 10-15 minutes late on this date. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, do you know what you would eat from here? Like, have you been to a place like this before? Have you been here? I know he ain't been there because I got all the good places. He was like, no, I've never been here before. This and the third. I'm like, okay, they have really good seafood. I'm like, are you a seafood eater? Because, like, you just said okay to what I wanted. You didn't even tell me if you like seafood or not. He was like, yeah, I eat seafood. He's like, yeah, I eat seafood. And it's cool. Like, this place is cool. I'm like, all right. Literally, y'all, awkward silence. Like, it's so weird. So I'm just sitting there like, man, what type of date is this about to be? So we get seated. That was the weird part. But we get seated. And yeah, if I'm looking off to the side, I'm looking at my monitor, so excuse that. But we get seated, and the type of place it is, you place your order, then you sit, then they bring it to you. So you place your order at the cash register, then you go pick what table you want to sit at, then they bring it to you based on the number they give you. So we get our seating, and then he goes and picks our table. So I put my, like, I take my coat off because it was a bunch of time. This not recent. This has to be like last year. But anyway, I go take my coat off. I hang my coat on the back of the chair, take my purse with me. and we both go to the register to order the food. So y'all, this man has been sweating me for a date, right? Okay. So we get to the register. We in line. This fool goes. And I was already prepared for this, and it's a shame. But y'all already know what I'm about to say. He goes, so how we doing the bill? We splitting it? Or what? I was like, I'm on a date with you. I said, you not paying? Now, I do come prepared for reasons like this. But I was like, I'm on a date with you. You not paying? He was like, I mean, I'm just asking. I'm just asking. He's like, but we can split it. We can split it. So I already know what type of date I'm on. I already know what type of bum Negro I'm dealing with. So I was like, okay. I was like, all right. Should have left after that. Didn't. I stayed. Whole time in my head, I'm like, I cannot wait to leave this date. Like, I cannot wait. So we order our food. We place the order. Then he's like, it's okay. I got it. You get the next one. So in my head, I'm already like, all right. Ain't no next date. This is the first and last date. So we order our food. And they bring it to us. We sit down. Now I can tell he's getting kind of comfortable with me to talk. And like maybe he was hangry or something. I don't know. He threw his little temper tantrum. Whatever. I wasn't really interested in it. But now he has his food. Like he's talking and everything. And y'all already know. When a man gets to talking about himself, that's it. Like he could tell you everything you need to know. So he asking me like, what do you like? What are you looking for? We kind of talk about what we talked about on the app. What are you looking for? You know, what do you like? What are your goals? This and the third. So I'm like, I'm looking for a serious relationship. Not with you. I didn't say that. But I'm looking for like something serious, potentially, you know, us starting out as friends to get to know each other. Blah, blah, blah. Just telling him like what I'm looking for. And I'm like, well, what are you looking for? Because now he older than me, but I like older men. So he's older than me. So I'm like, what are you looking for? Like, why are you single? Why are you on this app? And so he told me like, I'm looking for, you know, a wife to get married, this and the third. I'm like, okay, like that's nice. And I'm still keeping conversation going because I don't want it weird and awkward. So we're talking. And he gets to telling me about his business. So I'm like, what's your business? Because in your bio, you said you do X, Y, and Z. Y'all, I cannot remember what he said he did. I wish I remember. I cannot remember. But he's telling me like, oh, I do X, Y, and Z. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, okay, so where's that at? Like in the city of Chicago. He's like, oh, my businesses are in France. I'm like, oh, voulez-vous français? And he's like, France and the Netherlands and this and that country. And he's just saying all these places. And I'm just like, seem a little skimmerish to me, but okay. Because it might be a legit business. So I didn't want to like throw him under the bus or assume something that, you know, just wasn't. That just wasn't. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, so how often you go out there? Now this was before the pandemic, y'all. So I'm like, how often you go out there? This man's like, every couple of months, this and the third. I'm like, oh, that's dope, that's dope. He's like, yeah, so I need a woman who is going to understand my flexibility and be able to kind of travel with me. I'm like, okay. I wanted to leave this date ASAP. But I had my food. So I was kind of okay. And like I said, it wasn't a romantic place. It was loud, so it wasn't just weird and awkward silence. So I'm like, okay, like that's cool. He's like, yeah, would you be open to someone who does that and this and the third? So now I'm just saying anything because I'm with this man, right? So I'm like, yeah, of course, like whatever. I'm like, of course I would be open to that. Like, I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur, like I can make it work. you know, this and the third. He's like, okay. Y'all, out of the blue, he goes, I feel like I'm never going to see you again. I'm like, really? What's making you say that? Because in my head, I'm really like, I'm never going to see you again. So I'm like, what's making you say that? He like, I don't know. It's just something. I feel like I'm not going to see you again. I'm like, oh, don't say that. You'll see me again. Just trying to be nice. I'm like, you'll see me again. You'll see me again. Like, don't worry. Don't worry about it, buddy. No. So I'm like, you'll see me again. Like, it's cool. He's like, okay, I hope so. This, that, and the third. I'm like, yeah, you will. He's like, because I really feel like I'm not. He just kept saying that. I'm like, oh my God. I was about to say, you really not. You really, buddy, you're skating on thin ice. No, but I'm like, no, you are. Like, you'll see me again. It's cool. So he's just like, okay. So he's just telling me about these businesses, and I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. I'm just like, okay, now you're a scammer, or you do something illegal, or whatever the case. And if you do, like, okay, this is crazy. He just didn't get the vibes of what he was talking about. And I understand, like, certain entrepreneurs and certain men who have money that will just show it and flash it. But y'all, when I say the man didn't it was just a lot of key things that I picked up on, and I was just like, you don't do what you say. Like, this is not matching up. I'm like, this not matching up. You not matching up with what you saying. All that. Just the way he talked, his speech, just like all of it. So I went with it. I just went along with it. I'm like, okay, you know, that's cool. So we're just talking, simple talk at that point. And he was telling me, like, he's like, I'm in the cannabis business, this, that, and the third. So I'm like, okay, maybe he does do what he said he did then. Like, because that's when marijuana is, like, first getting legalized and all that. So I'm like, okay, maybe he, you know, does do that and have some connections and this and the third, whatever. So then our date ends and we leave. We're getting ready to leave. So we walking out together. This is the part I was waiting for all night long. I'm like, okay, great. I'm gonna get up out of this jail. I'm gonna go home. I'm blocking this man. I'm never gonna see him again. So I'm like, what? I didn't even ask him where he parked. We're just still talking, like walking out, you know, just small talk. And he's like, yeah, you know, we're just talking. Small talk getting cut shorter and shorter. Because I'm like, I can't wait to get to my car to block this man. We're both walking towards my car. Like, he walking towards the direction I'm walking in. So I'm like, okay, maybe he parked that way. Y'all gonna laugh when y'all hear this. This is why the man was so upset I was late. I really believe this is why he was so upset I was late. So we're walking. He's steady walking with me. Literally my direction. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, well, it was nice meeting you and see you again. You know, he's like, when can I see you again? I'm like, I'm not sure. Like, just text me. We'll work something out. You know, this and the third. I'm like, it was nice seeing you though. Like, nice meeting you. I see you again. And the man, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna put this. The man is just so intrigued that I have vanity plates. Like, I have a little phrase on my plates that I personalize. So he's like, oh, that's dope. Like, that's dope. Checking out my car and stuff. I'm like, okay. I don't even have no fancy car or nothing, so I'm very confused at this point. I'm trying to get in the car and pull off. He walked me to my car. I'm like, okay, great. He's being a gentleman. He's like, yeah. He's like, my car's in the shop right now. So can you give me a ride home? I'm like, oh, how you get up here? This man goes like, Uber. I'm like, that's why he was mad I was late, y'all. He wanted me waiting on him. So y'all, we're standing at my car. So I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm making all these excuses up, right? I'm like, well, I have to go, you know, home and do this and the third. He's like, oh, but did you say you live like on this block and then the third? That's why I didn't tell you exactly where I stayed. So I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, it's cool. It's on my way home. Like, I'll take you home. So then I'm in the car like, oh my goodness, I'm stuck in the car with this man. What did I get myself into? So then I'm like, how are you an entrepreneur and you do all these things and you make all this money and you don't even have a car? He went from my car is in the shop to I got my license suspended, all this, right? I'm like, oh no. I'm like, you not the one for me, buddy. Like, this just went left real quick. So I'm already big turned off. I mean, turned off. So I'm like, okay, great. We're like 6 minutes away from where you stay. I'm gonna get up out of this gym. I'm really not ever seeing you again in my life. So he's like, we talk on the way to his house, and we get there. He was like, all right, it was nice meeting you. I'm like, you too. Like, bye. Like, see you never again in my life. So I'm like, you too. Like, it was nice meeting you. Like, see you. Like, just text me for another date or whatever. Yeah, whole time y'all know I didn't want to see this man again. So I'm like, see you like whenever. Like, just text me. So he's like, okay, I will. Like, I bet he will, but he texts me, he gonna be blocked. So he's like, oh, can I give you a hug? I'm like, oh my goodness, here this man go. So I gave him a hug in the car. He's like, no, I want a hug outside the car. I'm like, I'm like, I'm tired now. I'm full. I'm not finna get out the car. Cause now I'm like, you finna steal my car? Like, are you about to rob me? You finna hug me, throw me out, like, and then take my car? A whole bunch of crazy stuff be going through my head. I'm like, I shouldn't even gave you a ride over here, but I did. So I'm very confused as to what's to you. Oh, I got this powder everywhere. Oh my goodness, look at this, y'all. So anyway, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that, buddy. Like, I'm tired now. He's like, well, you can come in and chill for a little bit. He's like, I got some CBD pens and all that. I'm like, nah, I don't even do that stuff. Not with you. And I definitely not come to your house. I'm like, no, I'm good. I was literally just thinking of anything to say. I'm like, I gotta go do some work. Like, I need to go home. So he's just like, okay, it's cool. Like, text me when you get home so I know you safe. I'm like, alright, good night. Like, make sure you get your leftovers. Because, dude, I'm really not ever seeing you again. So, it ain't no point to even leave nothing in this car. I made sure he had everything he needed, for sure. And after that, he went home, whatever. He called me right after, y'all. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, did this man put like a tracking number on my car or what? So I answered the phone before I blocked him, y'all. I still want to seem normal and nice. I'm telling you, should have just left him. Should have just left him where he was at. He was like, it was just so nice. Hey, with you tonight? Y'all, I'm driving home. I'm like, in my head. He's like, it's just so nice hanging with you tonight. I had a good time. I hope to see you again. This and the third. He's like, when I get my Range Rover, I'm gonna pick you up next time. And we're gonna have like a great time. And all this dreamy stuff. I'm like, okay, that'll be dope. Like, how you talk about getting a Range Rover and you don't have no car at all? First, your license is not even operable in the state of Illinois. Let's talk about that. You talking about getting a Range Rover and coming to pick me up? Like, that's gonna impress me. He's like, yeah, so I'll pick you up and we'll go here. I'm like, okay, it sounds good. Talk to you then. Right after I got off the phone, blocked. Went to Tinder or Hinge or wherever we met, blocked. Like, all that. So, in my head on my way home, I'm like, what type of date was this? I'm just counting. I'm counting all the problems that we had. I'm like, so this man Was mad I was late. But we know why, y'all. We know why. We know that he Ubered and he had to wait. So he didn't even have his own car that he could wait inside of until I got there. That was the problem. I promise you. So I'm like, okay. He didn't have his own car. I'm just keep going, right? He wanted me to pay for my own food. He didn't have his own car. He told me he want to bring me to Switzerland and France with him, with his work, so we can be close. Right? He's saying all these things. I'm wrapping up my date in my head because I just still couldn't believe that I was just on this date with this weird man. So I'm like, okay, it's more. I'm like, I couldn't. He looks like my father. That was weird. That was very weird to me. I'm not gonna lie. That was very, very weird to me. And I'm just still going through everything. And I'm like, wow, I have never been on a date like this. I'm like, the man didn't have a car. Interesting. And it's not that you didn't have a car, but it's like all these other things, like you rushed me, all this and the third. So that was my cue to just delete the apps. I just deleted Hinge. I deleted Tinder. I got off all those apps. Y'all. And I was like, oh yeah, never again. Do you hear me? Never. And that's like, that's my date story. Like, can y'all believe it? It's just so many things. Like, if he would have came correct, I gotta get up out of here. But if he would have like came correct, kind of, and like, I don't know, proving himself more manly, less things would have made sense, right? Less things, like the stuff he did, it would have just kind of made sense. Because when I say I was so confused and I didn't understand, like, what is happening? What is happening with this dude? Like, why what? I was so confused. So I'm done. Simple, cute little glam, just going with my cousins, and I'm about to change and stuff. But yeah, so that was my worst day ever. It probably could have gone away like I don't know, it could have probably been even more horrible than what it was, but that was like my worst. Y'all got that powder everywhere. Look at that. Like what? Literally got a bling 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 bling. But yeah, that was my worst day ever. And I'm done with all these apps. I'm done with these men. I just couldn't believe it. I'm just like, you got so many problems to be coming to me, acting like this, and all that, this, and the third. So yeah. But yeah, that was my worst day. If y'all have a worst day, y'all, please share it with me, because I would love to hear these stories. For real. I would really, really love to hear y'all stories. Because I know I'm not the only girl with a worst day ever story. Like, ain't no way. We have all had our fair share of horrible date stories. So, share them with me. Share them with me. Alright. So, thank you all for listening. Thanks for sticking around with me as I get ready to go hang with my cousins. And yeah, love you so much, Taylor Gang. And peace out. If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Do all the things. Turn on your post notifications so you get notified every time I drop a video. I now drop every Monday and Friday. Yes, y'all, we are upping the content. Fridays I will post shorts, and then Mondays will remain our regular content days. So So yeah, thank you so much. Love you guys. Peace, love, and apple grease. And take care. Y'all remember I got my hair cut short. But alright, Taylor gang. Peace.